the basic difference between the yiktol, or the kal imperfect form, and the nifal imperfect form is the dagesh from the assimilated nun in the pei letter, the first root letter of the nifal imperfect. So we have yikatel, he will be killed. So we can see the basic difference then is we have the same prefix pronoun, the 3ms for kal or nifal, but the nifal has a dagesh forte assimilated into the first root letter that signals to us that there was a nun there, a nun from the nifal stem, and so then that's how we get our basic distinction. So we become familiar with how the nifal stem is different from the kal stem, and that indicator will tell us that we're looking at a nifal imperfect when we are reading the scriptures. And here we see, looking at the nifal form of the imperfect, that when we're talking about a strong root, that is no Jonah letters, and all of the letters can accept dageshim, no gutturals, that we have the dagesh in the first root letter all the way down. So then we can easily see, and it needs to jump out at us, that this dagesh in the first root letter, that's a nun, and that's a symbol of the nifal stem. And so we need to train ourselves that needs to just jump off the page at us. That's why it's very important to know the difference between a dagesh lene and a dagesh forte, so that we can see when we have an assimilated nun and be able to do the parsing that we need to. Because all of these in the nifal are going to have more of a passive sense, or possibly a reflexive, rather than the active basic future tense of the kal. And of course, there's all the modalities, woulda, coulda, shoulda, that are part of the imperfect. Genesis 15:15. V'ata tavo el avotecha b'shalom tikaver. Here we have, and you, it's the subject pronoun, and it's included here again in the imperfect verb, and you will come, the Lord says to Abraham, and you will come to your ancestors in peace, and you will be buried. Here we notice the imperfect form, and we have a dagesh in the kof. So we know we're looking at a nifal, imperfect form, and in this case it is a 2ms, for the Lord is addressing Abraham. So the root word is kof beit resh, to bury, and in the nifal imperfect it's you will be buried. Here's another example from Genesis 18:29. Vayomer ulai yimatzun sham arbaim. And he said, perhaps, the subject here is 40. 40 will be found there. I have a little bit of a typo. We need a patak under there. So here we have our kind of context where Abraham is talking to the Lord and trying to barter him down. And he says, perhaps 40 righteous, and here's the verb, will be found there. So what we see is this is an imperfect form, and we can see by the prefix and the suffix that it's a 3MP, and there's something just a little bit unusual here. When we look at the end, we have a nun at the end. This is a little unusual. That noon at the end is stylistic, and we see it now and again. It's called a paragogic noon, and just ignore it. It's just there for style, and probably because Abraham's talking to the Lord. But then the key issue, and what we're focusing on here, is there's a dagesh in the mem, and so that's a signal to us that we're looking at a Nifal imperfect. So 40 will be found there. And that's what Abraham hopes as he tries to negotiate with the Lord.